We start this program with something that is good for you that you should know. Support comes from Ziotics. Now, let me tell you about this product I use before a night out with drinks. It's called Pre-Alcohol, the world's first genetically engineered probiotic created by PhD scientists to help you feel your best the next day. Here's how it works. When you drink, alcohol creates this nasty byproduct in your gut. That's what can leave you feeling off the next morning. Ziotics helps to break it down while you sleep so you wake up ready to go. So the first time I tried it, it was before a big dinner with friends, and I had my favorite drink, a little tequila, a little soda. So, and then I went to bed, and the next day I was up early, sharp, and ready to go, like nothing happened the night before. So with football season here, tailgates, games, game days, and watch parties, it's a perfect time to make Ziotics your first drink of the night. Go to ziotics.com/lemon for 15% off with the code LEMON. They even have a 100% money back guarantee. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Lemon Live at 5. Thank you so much for joining. Man, we have an amazing show for you, live show. If you're catching us at our live time, and we're glad that you're here because we have some big stars and folks who are going to talk about some big stars and who have interviewed some big stars, including Jimmy Kimmel, Kamala Harris, and Joy Reid, and also Dillon Byers. We'll get to Dillon in a moment, but let me just set this up because as we are streaming tonight live, just a short time ago, Jimmy Kimmel broke his silence after his brief suspension from the airwaves, posting a picture to Instagram earlier today of a Hollywood figure who once described himself as being on President Nixon's enemies list. And that's Mr. Norman Lear, if you know who that is. Norman Lear died, sadly, in 2023 at the age of 101. The late night host captioned the photo, which features his arm around Lear, quote, "Missing this guy today." And also, you know what I'm missing too is George Carlin, and also some people with some backbone. Lear developed the now beloved sitcoms, All in the Family, Good Times, The Jeffersons, One Day at a Time, for those of you who are old enough. His work was defined by being unafraid to tackle social issues long considered taboo. Over 6 decades, Lear's work took up racism, sexism, women's liberation movement, anti-Semitism, abortion, homophobia, the Vietnam War, and class conflict. And then he worked through the Nixon administration using that as for content for All in the Family. I am joined later by Joy Reid, who's a veteran journalist and the host of the Joy Reid Show on YouTube. She's going to share her insight on her extraordinary interview with the former Vice President Kamala Harris. But first up is Mr. Dillon Byers. He's a founding partner and senior correspondent at Puck. He's also the host of the Grill Room podcast. Dillon, thank you. And he's got the best hair and the best beard in the business.
It's good to see you, Don.
Thank you. Dillon, thank you for joining us. What are we talking about, Jimmy Kimmel? I mean, think about, I think, well, you're closer to my age than my team, but you remember all of those sitcoms. I mean, we can't even do that on television anymore. No one could probably tackle those things, at least not on linear television anymore.
Yeah, no, I don't think so. I think it's increasingly becoming, I mean, one of the ironies here is that there's actually a lot more you can tackle in the media space by virtue of, you know, whether you're talking about YouTube or Netflix or HBO than you can ever do on broadcast television anymore, or even cable.
Yeah. So what happened? So this is where, so Jimmy Kimmel, as you know what happened. I don't even have to run the soundbite. I think most people have seen it. I didn't think he said anything that was fireable there. So my question is, they brought him back. I want to know from you, was it the pressure from people threatening to boycott and drop their, get rid of their Hulu and that kind of thing? And now you have 2 of the station's groups who went in on, suspending him indefinitely. What is it? Sinclair,
yes,
and then Nexstar. Now they're saying they're not even going to run his programs for the time being. What's going on here?
Yeah, well, putting Jimmy Kimmel back on the air was always the plan, at least according to Disney and the executives at Disney. And indeed, that they had been telegraphing that almost from the moment that they pulled him off the air. But that said, the fact that this happened so quickly, the fact that it happened before they had any sort of assurances from Sinclair or Nexstar that they were going to actually broadcast the show, it speaks to the pushback. I mean, the pushback, Don, was overwhelming. I mean, you saw it. It wasn't just the Hollywood creative community. It was former President Barack Obama. It was Senator Ted Cruz. I mean, in many ways, once you get outside of that like strict MAGA allegiance, you're talking about bipartisan pushback, because I think there's a recognition that this isn't the country we want to live in. No one wants the government infringing upon whether or not a late night comedian or can go on the air and say what at the end of the day was not something that Disney executives found particularly controversial. Certainly the way it was interpreted was not even the way that Jimmy Kimmel meant it. Now, it was sort of, might have been a little ham-handed the way he said it. It doesn't matter. But that move to preempt him in the first place speaks to just how difficult it is for media companies like Disney, media executives like Bob Iger, to navigate what is a brazenly transactional White House. I mean, it's real. It's out there, right? The transactional nature of what's going on and the pressure that's being applied. And I think at a certain point, Bob Iger had to make a calculation, which is, okay, I don't want to run afoul of this administration exactly, but I can't be put in a position where I am undermining the brand power of Disney, undermining, frankly, my own legacy by keeping this guy off the air. I don't want to be a party to that. But of course, none of this is going to go away. Like you mentioned, Sinclair, Nexstar, they're not broadcasting it. The FCC, the Disney still has deals in front of the FCC. I don't see Trump sort of backing down in his campaign against the media or against Disney and ABC. So this is, I think we're still in like very early days of this dance.
You do. And you really, all that, do you think that all those calculations played into it? I mean, his legacy, the ABC brand, because if he had thought about that in the beginning, he may have made a different decision.
Sure. I mean, yeah. And there's, look, hindsight is 20/20, but you could have had a lot more foresight here. I mean, you could make the argument, you could look at what happened to Stephen Colbert, and you can make the argument that late night does not have a bright future, generally speaking. You could argue from a pure business standpoint, the smartest thing to do would have been to get Jimmy Kimmel off the air before you ran into any of these problems. That's not the kind of leader Bob Iger wants to be. I mean, it's not, he came up at ABC. He likes Jimmy Kimmel. He has a good relationship with him. Getting in this position, which, look, he's not the only executive to find himself on the wrong side of the Trump administration, but the way that he handled it was just off. This sort of sudden announcement that you're going to preempt the show with no explanation, obviously doing it amid FCC pressure. You mentioned backbone earlier. I think a lot of people are looking for backbone now. And this notion that I think Bob Iger and other media leaders have had, that you can just sort of get through these 4 years by, paying, settling lawsuits or saying the right thing at the right time and hoping the problem goes away. That's not how the Trump administration works. That's not how Donald Trump works. He's going to keep coming back. He's going to keep applying the pressure. And at a certain point, these guys are going to have to develop some backbone or they're just going to get run over.
Well, I mean, I think they're getting run over now. Not to belabor the point, because I've spoken about this a lot, but I don't understand, and I do understand what's going on, with these, if you want to call them media oligarchs or whatever, of these guys. I mean, it's all about mergers and acquisitions, more money, building bigger media companies. And to me, it doesn't appear, my opinion, that they really care about journalism, or they care about democracy, or they care about the First Amendment. Otherwise, they would be hands off the entertainment or the artists and hands off the newsroom. You know what I'm saying?
I do. I just think that the landscape that we're in today, if you're sitting where a media executive is sitting, you can make a lot of peons to the importance of journalism, about the importance of the independence of journalism, the separation of church and state between the business side and the editorial side. But at the end of the day, you have a lot more considerations. You have your fiduciary duty to your shareholders. You have to actually think about the long game and what it would mean potentially to run afoul of an administration that actually does have quite a bit of leverage here. I mean, the reason that it's the broadcast networks that have sort of taken it and had to pay these settlements, whereas organizations like the New York Times or the Wall Street Journal can stand up to lawsuits, is because the FCC has this very specific, and you mentioned George Carlin, I think George Carlin would say pretty absurd and archaic, power to influence the broadcast networks. Now, the future of media, as you know as well as I do, Don, the future of media is not broadcast television, but they remain big pillars in our society for the time being. And, seeing Colbert get canceled, seeing Jimmy Kimmel be preempted amid blatant FCC pressure, it's just problematic.
Do you think it's I think it's a bit short-sighted of them. I don't know what they're thinking. And because Donald Trump places such a premium on cable and linear, right? He watches cable news. He watches linear television a lot. He was, on The Apprentice, Celebrity Apprentice. So he's like, in tune to the ratings. But as you said, linear television is, I'm not going to say it's over. I mean, I think it still has a tail and it still makes money, but it's definitely on the decline. Am I right? Right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
So then if they were smart, and if Jimmy is smart, Jimmy has 20 million, his show has 20 million subscribers on YouTube. If Jimmy Kimmel were to take his show and go independent, go on YouTube or Netflix or someplace else that is in streaming, what is to say that he won't be an even bigger success, more popular, appeal to a younger demographic, be out of, he would, won't just be part of the rearranging of the deck chairs. He will actually be given a lifeboat. And boy, don't I know about that. So
yes, you do.
Don't you think if they were smart, they would say, we're putting Jimmy on Hulu. You can subscribe. We're going to leave him on for the rest of his contract, and we can do both or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, why are they thinking in terms of 1980s television?
Yeah, well, I do know what you're saying, and look, the how you time this transition from what we think about as sort of legacy television versus the future is a hard calculation for big media companies, because they do continue to spin off a lot of money. So I think if you're Disney and you're looking at the Jimmy Kimmel audience, a lot of that audience is on television. It is different if you're Jimmy Kimmel. Like if you're Jimmy Kimmel, that right now, if you look across Colbert, Kimmel, and Jimmy Fallon, we're looking at the last generation of marquee stars in late night television. Like that, I hate to say it, but that is not coming back because the economics aren't great. You can debate why Stephen Colbert got canceled, but the show was losing money indisputably. So if you're Kimmel, I think one thing you have to ask yourself is, okay, there's a shelf life here. Maybe this is the moment to jump. Now, I don't think he's going to do that. All of my reporting suggests that he's going to come back tonight. He's going to give a monologue, something close to the monologue he wanted to give, to address the remarks that he made, but to do so in a way that he's still able to sort of criticize all of the sort of right-wing echo chamber that ginned this up into what it became. I don't foresee him saying, I'm leaving, but it is something that I think probably crossed his mind.
Because Sinclair, and what's the other one again? Nexstar. Because Sinclair and Nexstar, because they pulled the show for now, it leads me to believe there's no apology, that he's not going to apologize, nor will he be donating to Turning Point USA. Is that your reporting?
That's my understanding. And again, look, like at the end of the day, these talks were really, it was like Bob Iger, his deputy Dana Walden, and Jimmy Kimmel. It was the three of them, and their representatives sort of hovered around trying to figure out what was going on. So we don't know exactly what he's going to do. I will say this insistence, which is very Trumpian, on the apology. It's not, I don't just want 15 million. I want 15 million and an apology. I don't just want a cancellation. I want a cancellation and an apology. I don't see that happening. Because the brand of Disney, the brand of Jimmy Kimmel, they're not ones that want to be remembered for sort of cowing to meritless pressure.
Yeah. I want to play something. It's a little bit long, and I'm very cognizant of your time. That's why I want to get it in right now. This is, excuse me. So Brendan Carr is, right? He's the head of the FCC. You've written about him. He's the one that came out and made the statements regarding all of this, saying that, these ABC or whatever, they have a duty to respect the stations groups and respect that they have a broadcast license and they have to conduct themselves in a certain way. which was shocking to me that someone in that position would even say something like that, especially since this is America and we do have a First Amendment. But the conservatives who had been criticizing liberals, right, and the left for what they call canceling people or not, I can't say anything, are trying to kill comedy. They're the ones who are cheering on Carr and all of this and all of these moves. Here's Joe Rogan speaking about it. It's a little bit long, but I want you to listen.
This whole Jimmy Kimmel situation that is happening right now.
Yeah, wild.
Very wild. Okay, first of all, the FCC is, you have to have a license to broadcast, which is kind of crazy when you think about what that means now. Because, like, what does it mean? It used to mean that you used to have a license to broadcast because you were going to influence so many people. They had to make sure that you were on the up and up, right? So they had to make sure that you didn't swear. So if you had a license and you were on CBS or NBC or ABC, you could not swear, right? That was the rule. And then along came cable. And somehow or another, cable
changed the game.
Is a different thing, right? Because cable, you just you have to pay for it, I guess, so it's different. And so then some of the channels you don't have to pay for. It used to be the only ones that swore were like HBO, where you had to pay for. And then all of a sudden it became kind of any of them because they realized, like, hey, we don't, like FX, we can swear, guys. Like, we only don't swear because we want to think of ourselves as TV.
Right.
But HBO was like, you know, with The Sopranos, with HBO comedy specials, in the beginning, that was a big one. You could just swear. Movies, you didn't have to bleep anything out. Just wild. And so these, what you're dealing with even, like, first of all, I definitely don't think that the government should be involved ever in dictating what a comedian can or cannot say in a monologue. That's fucking crazy.
It's crazy.
Now, if the problem is the companies, if they're being pressured by the government, so if that's real, and if people on the right are like, yeah, go get them, oh my God, you're crazy. You're crazy for supporting this. Because this will be used on you. You don't think that the fucking globalist lizard people who run the world are sitting here going, great, what do we got, 3 years? We'll wait this out. We'll wait this out. Yeah. Let them say the government should be involved in censoring people's speech. Yeah. Let them support that. Let these fucking dumbasses, because Jimmy Kimmel's a leftist, let these dumbasses think it's a good idea and we should celebrate.
That's the most toxic shit I keep seeing online when people are like, yeah, shut him down.
So that was Andrew Santino, the comedian, by the way, who he had on, who has quite a racy show himself and comedy. I'm not a lizard person, but I posted something very similar. I was like, they're not running it good. Jimmy will figure it out. They'll miss out on the big ratings. And then they'll realize, like, linear is dying. Perhaps we should have someone like Jimmy on. Jimmy will go on to streaming and I think be an even bigger success. And then he'll tour around the country and do comedy or whatever. So what do you think of what Rogan said? Because this is a conundrum, I think, for conservatives.
Yeah, look, I agree with that point. I certainly agree that, and Barry Weiss and others have come out and said this too. Be careful, because this can backfire. If all of a sudden conservatives are the ones who are inviting government to get involved, like, you don't, presuming there is another election and a Democrat does get back in power, you don't want to be on the receiving end of that. But I think the more significant point that Rogan made is one I was trying to make earlier, which is you have the FCC policing this one distinct brand of media that used to be what we thought of when we thought of media, when we thought of the news and late night and everything. That's not the world anymore. Like, there's YouTube, there's podcasting, there's social media. Joe Rogan is not subject to he doesn't need an FCC license. You, Don, don't need an FCC license. It's not the future of media. And so in many ways, it's an important debate for us to follow. And I do think that as a society, it's good that I think most people are speaking up and saying everything from, like, no one deserves to be assassinated for their point of view, and no one deserves to be pressured out of stating their point of view by the government. All of those things are true. But at the end of the day, this isn't the theater. This isn't the arena where the future of media is going to happen. And so, and I think that's really the crucial point in what Joe Rogan is saying.
Are you going to watch tonight?
Oh, of course. I've been on pins and needles, man. Pins and needles.
No, seriously, I can't wait to watch it. Yeah,
no, I can't wait either. And I will tell you this. I mean, this sort of underscores the point. I can't remember the last time that late night television or even frankly TV news was appointment viewing for me.
Right.
But here it is. So maybe that's the silver lining for Disney and for Jimmy Kimmel.
I know the last time TV news was an appointment for you, but I'm just
I know. I remember. I watched you, Don. You were appointment viewing for me.
No, I can't wait to watch. And wait, I forget because I haven't watched linear television in so long. You're out west, right? Are you in LA today? You're in LA today. So is it delayed there, or will we get it sooner, or does it run in real time?
Oh, I have workarounds. You know, I'm a media reporter. Yeah. I'll find a way.
Yeah. But I think SNL runs in real time there. It's not late.
SNL runs in real time here.
In real time.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
All right. Dillon, so just real quick, what do you think? No apology and
no apology. Nuanced statement that acknowledges that his words could have been taken out of context, and from there quickly a pivot to a broader assessment of what is so messed up about the current media environment, current media ecosystem in which his remarks were able to be taken out of context the way that they were.
Yeah, I think the station groups are going to kill ABC network. I think they're digging their own grave. How long, this is the last thing, how long before he comes back, or will he come back on Nexstar and Sinclair?
It's a great question. I think the only thing Nexstar is worried about is they've got a $6.2 billion deal sitting on the table in front of the FCC chairman, and I think that's the guiding light for them. So I think I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see Kimmel back on Nexstar for a while.
All right. Thank you. Dillon Byers.
Thanks,
Mr. Dillon Byers. Thank you, sir. Dillon Byers is a founding partner and senior correspondent at Puck. He's also the host of the Grow Room podcast. Check out Puck. Just go look. I think it's puck.com. But anything you want to know about the business, what's happening in television, streaming, any of that media, Dillon Byers has got it. Okay. Joy Reid is here. She's going to be up in a moment, and she did a fantastic interview with the former vice president of the United States. We can call her the forever vice president. Joy, look right here real quick, because I know she's getting ready. There is Joy Reid.
Hey, what's up,
smiling. Okay,
Hello.
Joy, this is a tease. There she is, getting ready. So Joy Reid joins us in a moment, okay? But first, a word from our sponsors. This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. Now, look, we've all done it. We've asked the, people, friends, just coworkers for advice, overshared with a stranger. Maybe even you turn to, a barista in the coffee shop for wisdom. Many of those people can be great listeners, but they're not licensed therapists. BetterHelp has over 30,000 licensed therapists to help with anxiety, relationships, stress, you name it. It's all online. It's totally flexible. And if the first therapist isn't the right fit for you, well, you can switch anytime. Okay? So I've used therapy myself, and it gave me a perspective that I didn't have before. Tools I actually use in real life. That's what BetterHelp is about. Real help when you need it most. And you can message, talk, or video chat with your therapist from anywhere. Over 5 million people have already tried it. Go to betterhelp.com/Don Lemon today and get 10% off of your first month. That's betterhelp.com/Don Lemon. Support for the program also comes from Mint Mobile. Do you procrastinate? You know what I'm talking about. You put off things that could save you money. Well, I used to until I found out about Mint Mobile's best deal of the year, which is 50% off unlimited premium wireless for new customers. $15 a month, same network, same crystal clear calls, same fast data as the big guys. My team switched and no one could really tell the difference. So you can keep your number, you can keep your phone and even your contacts, and 3 months of premium wireless for just $15 a month. That's a real win. But you better switch before September 22nd. Don't wait on this one, okay? You better do it quickly. Quit stalling and start saving today. Go to mintmobile.com/Don Lemon. That's mintmobile.com/Don Lemon. And thank you so much to our sponsors. So the Vice President, Kamala Harris, as we told you this morning, is doing interviews. She has a new book out. And I was watching my friend, Joy Reid, because I watch. And Joy and I are friends, and it's a mutual admiration society. And she said, I have to tell you, I have an interview with Kamala Harris, Vice President Kamala Harris, and this is really a boon. And I think this is a marker for independent journalists and independent media. And I said, Joy, you're right on. And we're all about supporting each other here because we're stronger together. So I want to bring in my friend, veteran journalist, Ms. Joy Reid, and the host of the Joy Reid Show on YouTube. Joy, thanks for joining. Before we play the clip, thank you for coming on. Before we play the clip, what did you talk to what this means for independent journalists? I think Kamala Harris recognized something that she may not have recognized when she was on the campaign trail.
1,000%. Remember, she got a lot of hits for not going on with Joe Rogan, which, by the way, she reveals in the book, which is juicy tea. Y'all need to get this book. Okay. She tells a lot of stories and a lot of tea, but one of the things she reveals is that Joe Rogan appears to have lied about the circumstances surrounding her not going on his podcast, because Joe Rogan's team made it seem like her team was making all these demands about what time they could be there, et cetera. And she reveals that that was not true. So that's one of the pieces of tea in the book. But she was accused of not really recognizing the importance of, independent media. But I can tell you, in setting up this interview with Vice President Harris's team, as an independent media outlet, the Joy Reid Show faced absolutely no detriment versus the biggies. We actually recorded our interview before all of the networks recorded theirs. The great Rachel Maddow had her on live on Monday, but we had already recorded our interview. We recorded it on Friday. She then did The View today. She's doing lots more interviews. But what I just said with Wajahat Ali on his Substack, which I think is so true, and I name checked you, my friend, we who are doing independent media are giving just as legitimate, factual, researched information as you could get from our old jobs, the places where we used to work, and we can bring you the same interviews. You had Karen Atia on. You were the first to have her on, Don. Nobody has booked her. She has not gone on CNN. She's not been invited on MSNBC. She's not gone anywhere. But both you and I have interviewed her on our independent channel. So if you want to hear what happened to Karen, you can come to us. I watched you do better journalism interviewing Nancy Mace on the streets of DC and these streets of Washington, DC, that we've seen done by almost anyone in mainstream media. So you're not missing a beat if you're getting your news and information from mainstream media, from the Don Lemon Show, from the Joy Reid Show, from Roland Martin, from Jim Acosta. We're bringing you the real, and we can bring you the big interviews. And in this case, the big interview that we were able to bring before anyone else was Kamala Devi Harris, former Vice President of the United States.
And Joy said independent media. You said mainstream media. From independent media.
Independent media.
You're going to get it. Yeah. Yes. So Joy, see, it was like that was what my producer used to do in my ear.
Independent media. Independent media. We are independent, but we have mainstreamed independent. We're not like, you can't even call it like alternative media like they used to. No. We are independent media because we answer to no corporate boss and no billionaire. We answer to no billionaire. That is the reason that we are unfettered, unbossed, and unbothered.
All right, now, Joy Reid. This is Joy Reid's portion of her interview with the vice president. This is her teaser. Okay, here it is.
The sitting vice president takes up the race against a former president of the United States
the longer
with
one,
107 days to go. And that's what the book is about. It's about what that experience was.
No,
it was an experience of
we'll get to that one.
Meeting.
There we go.
You unpack the results of this election. Do you feel that your loyalty to the president was returned? And do you feel that your loyalty to a fault cost you the election?
Oof.
It's a tease. Da, da, da.
Joy. Okay, now. So, and as much as you can share, I don't want you to give it away because I want you to watch Joy's show. Joy, it airs tonight live.
It airs tonight.
7
p.m. We want to make sure that y'all listen to your Don Lemon show. We don't want to interrupt a moment of, we know y'all love to get this Don Lemon show, so we wanted to make sure we scheduled accordingly. It will be on at 7 p.m. Eastern, so you can watch Don. Then you can watch Roland, because I know y'all like to watch Roland. Then you can go ahead and watch it at 7 p.m. on thejoyreidshow.com.
Amen. Okay, so then share without giving it away. How do you think she answered that question?
So I think what you're going to see, and if you've watched the interview that she just did with The View today, and if you watched the Rachel Maddow interview, I feel like what's interesting is that the Kamala Harris that you get in print and the Kamala Harris that you're going to get in these interviews are slightly different. She was much more open in print than she was in the interview. And I kept trying to pull it out as much. You're going to see in the interview. I don't want to give too much away, but I was really pushing because she tells some real truths in this book, Don. This book is, I think, important for everyone to read because a lot of us have suspected some of the things that she reveals in the book. And she confirms a lot of things that I think a lot of people felt were happening. You know, like behind the scenes, you felt like they're holding her back. Like we're not getting Kamala as the VP, right? They're not letting her see her. They're not letting her do things. They're giving her like all the bad assignments, like the border. It felt to us in our spirit like they were undermining her. This book to me reveals that they really, really were.
Well, and I've been saying, you know, some of the things that came out of the book when I think the Atlantic, was it the Atlantic that did the New Yorker,
the
whatever,
excerpt.
The excerpt. And I said, well, a lot of people knew that. The streets have been talking for a long time about what happened. And, you know, I am pleasantly surprised, and it's not a real surprise, that she is, I think, writing her own history. Because, you know, otherwise it would be written as, oh, you know, the way someone else wanted to write it. And I think
it'll be two white guys writing another best-selling book about her life.
Right. Yeah. And the whole idea about this criticism about her really annoys me, but we'll talk about that. Let me just say this today. So I was talking to someone who was on her team. And as I'm on the phone this right after the live this morning, and they said, I have a surprise for you. And I said, okay. And then someone picks up the phone and says, why haven't you called me for marriage advice? And I said, oh my God, Vice President. And we had the best conversation. She was so open and so warm, and I'm so glad that she shared. And that's all I'll share about the conversation because the rest is personal between us. But hopefully she'll come on the show. But I'm excited to see your interview. This is the longer clip, not the teaser. And I'm sorry if I confused you, Andy. Now I want to hear this, and then Joy will respond. Here it is.
The sitting vice president takes up the race against a former president of the United States with 107 days to go. And that's what the book is about. It's about what that experience was. It was an experience of meeting extraordinary people from around our country in all different places, people coming to our events from all different walks of life, seeing themselves in each other. It's about, yes, disappointments. It's about the stress of it, the pace of it. You know, you're right. I am very candid in the book and I guess vulnerable in the way that I talk about, including the strain it put on my marriage.
Ooh.
And again, the pains and the joy of the entire process. And part of what I hope people take away from this book is, one, to remind us of what happened, but to do it in a way that we can contextualize where we are now and where we need to go.
Joy, that's amazing. Can I just say, I'm so proud of you, though. It's just that the interview looks great. It was real. You talked, you had a real conversation. It wasn't, you know, how some people, some journalists, they have their questions and they're just like, and they're not listening.
Right.
Go to the next question, or it feels like they think they're in the briefing room when they're asking questions. You had a conversation with her, and I think you don't think she was that open. I thought she was being very open there, or at least she was more herself there than I've seen in other interviews. Yeah,
and you and I both interviewed her. We both, and by the way, when I tell y'all, people never got to know Kamala Harris is that person that will just give you a call and you don't pick up the phone because you don't know who that is on the other end because she's calling from a blocked number, and then you pick it up, it's like, oh my God, it's Kamala Harris. Like she was the first person that called me when I got the readout, when I became the first Black woman to follow you as a primetime host. And she called me out of the blue, you know, and I didn't take the call at first because I didn't know who it was because it was blocked number. Then I thought it might be my godmother who calls from a blocked number. So I picked it up like, hey, Auntie. It's like, that's not your auntie, it's me, you know. And she is, and also the day that I, you know, left, my last day at work, I got one of those calls, pick up the phone, it's Kamala Harris. Like, she is that person. She's done that for members of the media. She's done that for new young politicians who've come along who she wants to inspire. She talks about in the book how a young woman came up to her and gave her a note saying how much she inspired her and invited her to her graduation. And that sister showed up to that lady's graduation, that young girl's graduation, or high school graduation. She is that person, but she didn't get to show who she was. That clip that you're showing is when she's talking about the fact that she wrote this book almost, and it comes out like a political thriller. It's in countdown form. So it's like 107 days to go, 106 days to go, 90 days to go, 30 days to go. And she's counting down, and you can see that she's writing it from her diary, that she must have kept contemporaneous notes, because you can see that the notes are in there. There's one note in there where she talks about all the people who called her that she starts putting out calls, right? Once Biden says, I'm endorsing you, now she has to corral all the Democrats. She tells you who called her and who didn't call her back. Hey, Gavin Newsom did not call her back. He said he was hiking. He would call her back. And that man did not call her back. Count Chocula, you did not call that sister back. And she told on you. She was telling on everybody. But I feel like when I say that she was less open, what I'm saying is in the book, she reveals so much. I feel like the attacks that people have done against her, you've seen David Axelrod go after her. You've seen a lot of folks going after her Biden world people.
Because that's where I want to go next. I'm sorry, Joy. I just wanted to put it up.
I think it's getting to her. I think it is getting to her.
You do?
I do.
This is from Politico and others who are hitting back. And I think, Andy, if you can put that up. But I think Kamala Harris's new book befuddles Dems. If there's a political strategy here, it's a bad one. I think that's what David Axelrod said. There's a lot of grievance and whatever here. And I'm like, why can't this woman tell her story?
Right. That's exactly right. And you know what? Sorry, but hearing white men attempt to white mansplain how a Black woman, a woman of color, gets to tell her own story. You know what? F y'all. You don't get to tell her how to tell her story. This is her story. Right. She lived this. She experienced it. She's the one who had to bear the incredible, intense burden of standing between us and fascism. She knew exactly what Donald Trump would do. She talks about that in the interview as well. She saw it coming, predicted it, said it on stage, said it in the debate. She knew that he would destroy this country's economy with his tariffs. She knew that he would bow to Vladimir Putin and get played by him, that he would botch the war in Ukraine, that he would harm Gaza, and he would harm the people who were mad at Biden about Gaza, that he would make it worse.
He put troops on the streets. He would put against American citizens. Yeah.
She said it. And so she has the burden of knowing that that was going to happen and of doing everything that she could to stop it, having to take that on her shoulders with only 107 days to do it, and not having been set up for success by her own administration. I've said this in a couple interviews that I've done today, Don. If Joe Biden had treated Kamala Harris during her vice presidency the way Barack Obama treated Joe Biden during that administration, she might have won this race. She would have had a better shot because we would have known what she was doing. We would have seen her successes, and they would have elevated her to say, if you're worried about Joe Biden being old, don't worry. Look at this young sister. She's beautiful. She got that silk press on that looked fabulous. She's out there. She's
queen of the silk press.
She's the queen of the, her silk press was on point, but they would have seen her visibly, and people wouldn't have been assuming it was some sort of coronation because they would have naturally thought she was the successor. But the Biden team wouldn't allow her to shine. I call it that they Meghan Markled her. They Princess Diana'd her. He was Prince Charles and she was Princess Di. And if she shines, he looks faded. If she is out front, he feels like he's been shoved to the back. They Meghan Markle that sister. And that's why people were questioning her race, her competence, her speeches. Everything got questioned because she was brand new to folks. She shouldn't have been.
You know what I think? I tell you what I said this morning on the show and what I said to her that I said about her. My response was, some people are saying that this isn't good for the party. It may not be good for the party because she's exposing them, but it will be good for America.
Yes.
And maybe the party can learn from that.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Amen.
And maybe she will, through this book, I think she will pull the Democratic Party in a direction where they are more honest about things, less purity, right? Less judgment, and more support for folks like Kamala Harris, younger voices, more progressive voices, and voices out there like me, you, and others who stand up for the Democrats. You may be a Democrat. I'm not. I'm independent. But
I'm on my way out, brother. I'm looking at that Working Families Party like, hey, friend.
I'm just saying because I like to make up, on my own, and make up my mind on my own. But in the Democratic Party, they're the only ones now standing between us and tyranny. And I don't know, maybe we're already there. Yeah. So anyway, that's how I feel. So it may not be good for the Democratic Party, but I think it will be good for America. And if Donald Trump can call out his political enemies or people he thinks, did not treat him the way he should have been treated, Why can't she? Why can't the black woman?
That's right. And she's not threatening to prosecute them like Donald Trump did. I mean, remember, Donald Trump is calling out most of his former administration, including his vice president, who he said deserved to die on January 6, 2021. He can call these people out, but apparently the black lady needs to sit down, be quiet, and still support the Democratic leadership. Why? The Democratic Party didn't support her. I took from this book that effectively they decided that if Donald Trump was going to use her as a punching bag on the border, for instance, she talks about it in the book. She goes down to the border. They send her on the worst job possible. That's the worst gig you can get because Donald Trump is winning on the issue of immigration. They sent her there. She actually negotiates some really solid deals with Guatemala and other regional powers where they actually reduce the flow of people to the border. She's successful. But Trump attacks her, calls her the border czar. The White House says nothing. They do not respond to her. They do not defend her. Then her actual wins from Guatemala and others, the agreements that she negotiated, they don't put them forward. They say nothing. They let her keep getting beaten up and attacked. How does that make sense? You have a woman who's the daughter of immigrants who could make your case for immigration, who could say, my parents were immigrants. Look how outstanding they were. My mother was trying to cure cancer. My father's a professor. They didn't let her give that speech, do that, those talking points. They didn't let her do anything. Same thing on Dobbs. When you have women losing their abortion rights, you got a woman right there. She's right there. She's a mom. She's a stepmom. She's a niece. She's got nieces that she's taking care of.
Why, Joy?
I don't know.
Why?
It makes no sense. You should have set her up for success. Joe Biden is 140 years old, knows that he promised he was going to be a one-term president, and yet they wouldn't push her forward, build her brand. No one knew who Joe Biden was until Barack Obama made him his vice president. Before then, he had been in the Senate for 100 years, but still nobody knew him. It was Obama that built Joe Biden's brand with the Ray-Bans, and he's Uncle Joe. That was built because of Obama. Yeah. Obama built him up and set him up for success. Biden did not set up his vice president for success, period, in the end. Yeah. And I will say this one more thing. That sister is still so loyal to that man. She will not criticize him. She says in the opening of her book, okay, she quotes Kendrick Lamar, I got royalty inside my DNA. And that is what her book is about. She is loyal to this day to President Biden. So all those people like Axelrod and them that are mad, you cannot call her disloyal because she's still loyal to Joe Biden right now to this day in all her interviews. It's the party that she is trying to tell you is hurting their chances of being successful. And I honestly think she's too nice to Joe Biden on this, honestly, because he could have he could have said, no, this is my vice president. I chose her. I trust her and I want to build her up so that she's ready to be president just in case I can't.
You better talk your shit, Joy Reid.
I'm telling you. And that's me. Don't put that on Kamala. Okay, you want to yell at me, David Axelrod? Yell at me. I'm saying this. It's not her. I'm saying this. This is from Joy, not from Kamala.
Real quick before, because I want to go. I want to talk to you about Trump, but real quick. What did you think of the Pete Buttigieg thing? Because I know that criticism about Pete Buttigieg that people are. I know that hurts her to her core because she is extremely supportive of the LGBTQ plus community. She's performing gay marriages long before anybody else in California. And let me just tell you, she has a good time and she loves the gays. Okay. So that's all.
Y'all have seen her. Look, she is waving that rainbow flag at all of those LGBTQ marches. Don't put her out on Pride Month.
She hangs out with the gays. She and Doug.
Baby.
Come on.
Okay. So she loves Pete Buttigieg. By the way, she adores Pete Buttigieg. He's literally her favorite person. And honestly, and we're gonna tell that is the truth that I'm gonna tell because it's also true of me. We love you, Pete, but your husband, he the fun one. We love Pete, but let me tell you, his hubby, baby. Yeah, he's fun. I was at this is a sidebar. We went to the Selma March. This must have been. I don't know. This must have been when he was running for president. I can't remember. But all I know is we were all walking and the hubby was falling into the crowd because he was, the crowd was like so thick and it was so hot. So he was getting sucked in by the crowd. So I grabbed his hand and we formed the human chain to make sure he didn't get swallowed by the crowd and never came out of Selma. But when I tell you, they are so much fun as a couple and she adores them. And I think she kind of adores the hubby more. Sorry, Pete. I think she might love your hubby more. But, because he's so fun. But
I understood what she was saying
yeah,
about.
she was right. Y'all, come on, y'all. Y'all think a black woman with a Jewish husband plus a gay vice president with his husband with 2 black children, the American people were going to elect them? That ticket? Why are people mad at her for telling the truth about America, Don?
All right, I'm just saying.
They wouldn't elect a white woman, Hillary Clinton. They said, a white woman? Too much? A white woman? Oh, hell no. And then they said, a black woman? Hell no. And then you think they're going to say, no, you're a black woman. But
I knew what she was saying. I'm like, I get what she's saying, and I'm a member of the LGBTQ community. And we have a troll in there, and they're like, "Isn't Don married to a man?" Yeah, and okay,
yeah.
next question.
And he's
next
cute.
question.
Tim is cute.
I know, but you know
a
how
certain right-wing lady husband think he's cute too. Isn't that what you said? A crazy right-wing lady's husband also thinks you're cute, but you are cute, and then your hubby's cute. Tim is super cute.
You know,
well, I'm gonna cause it trouble.
You stirring up. I know you stirring up. I love it though. But you know how we bonded. I did a town hall with her, and Tim and I were contemplating what would happen next with our relationship. And I told her that I was in an interracial relationship, and then she's like, "Okay, let's talk."
Oh yes.
This was after our. You know, when you do town halls or debates, sometimes it's contentious. She never carried it off stage. Yeah. You know, any of you were like, "You're not answering my question," you know, Senator Harris. She would never carry it off stage. And she's like, you know, and she gave me some advice, and I took it to heart. And you know, she's got a great marriage. And as you said, the toll. She talks very candidly in the book about the toll this took on her marriage. But anyways, okay. So I think I understood what she was saying. Joy, I want to pivot to the president. I need to take a break real quick. Give me 2 minutes, and we'll come back and we'll talk about what's happening with Donald Trump.
Indeed.
Support comes from Ollie, the fresh dog food company that changed everything for my pups. You know, they're the loves of my life. When the Ollie box shows up, Boomer, Barkley, and Gus, they go wild. They love it. Their tail wags, happy barks, the whole thing. The food's fresh, human grade, made in U.S. kitchens, no fillers, no junk. Now, I noticed more energy, shinier coats, even better digestion. It's 5-star dining for dogs, and honestly, maybe better than what I eat. Not some nights, but probably most nights. So here's how it works. You go to ollie.com/lemon and you fill out their quick quiz about your dog, and then they create a custom plan just for you, just for your pups. So you get 60% off the first box with code LEMON plus a happiness guarantee. If your pup doesn't love it, you get your money back. That is ollie.com/lemon with the code LEMON for 60% off today. Your pups will love it. Ours do. Support also comes from Lean. Weight cycling, that, you know, you lose weight and then you gain it back. That's a pattern. It's a big pattern. It affects half of Americans, of all Americans. It stresses your body, it raises health risks, and it makes long-term health harder. Doctors created Lean to help break that cycle. It's not a shot or a fad diet. It's just a science-backed supplement designed to help with healthy weight loss in 3 ways. It supports blood sugar, it helps control cravings, and it helps burn fat for energy so the weight stays off. I've seen weight cycling in my own family. It's tough. That's why Lean got my attention. Real doctors, real studies, steady results that you can trust. Get 20% off when you use the code LEMON at takelean.com. That's takelean.com with the code LEMON for 20% off today. Thanks to all of our sponsors. Yes, thank you to all of our sponsors. And here's what I have to say, though. You hear the dog, right?
I do. I just had to put mine out.
I just let them run around because they love it. They're ready to eat. They're ready to eat their Ollie. But what I will say is that the summer, I put on the freshman 15 in the summer, and you can see it right here. So I'm back on my lean now.
Get on that lean, baby. You got to get on that lean.
Joy Reid, this is from Tim Dillon, and I want you to listen. It's a little bit long, but I've been waiting all day to hear what you had to say about this. Sure. He is criticizing Donald Trump. He says Donald Trump, this administration and Donald Trump, they think their supporters are crazy. They're playing them for fools. Here it is.
Nobody wants to live in a country where a late night comedian is, subject to removal because he says something that the president of the United States doesn't like. Also, here's a sidebar. Is Jimmy Kimmel the deep state? You know, well, Tulsi Gabbard goes out, who I like, but she goes out and goes, Obama's guilty of treason. And they don't really present a ton of evidence. And then they just drop it and they move on. And then they go, well, this guy and that guy and this guy and that guy. And then the Epstein files, they all vote to not release them. And then they go, well, Jimmy Kimmel, let's get him out of here. And then, Steve Bannon's got a documentary with 20 hours about Epstein. We'll release that. You got all these hours. Nobody over there, they all think you're really, really dumb. And they're treating you the way you treat a young child who wants something that they're not going to get. You try to distract them with other things.
Yep.
You can see, I don't have kids. I'm around people that have kids all the time, and they'll go, I want to do this, I want to do this, I want to do that. And then you go, hey, what about this? Take a look at that. Isn't this cool? Look, a dog. This is that. This is that. I mean, Kesh Patel is walking around like the most compromised person on earth. If Kesh Patel is not afraid of something, I don't know what fear is. These people are running around. They're going to unmask everything and expose everything and whatever. Again, I wasn't the one who ran on that premise. They were. And none of that has happened. In fact, whatever cover-up's going on, they're extending it. They've now become a part of it. They are helping facilitate it. Every comment under everything these people post is, what the fuck are you doing? Speaking of a 7-Eleven, I don't think Kesh Patel could solve a robbery at a 7-Eleven without fucking it up, by the way. It's just, the guy's the head of the FBI.
Wow.
I mean, where do you start? He's not wrong.
I don't know who that guy is, but
He's comedian Tim Dillon. He's good.
He is correct. I mean, the thing that's so interesting that he said, so when we used to fly with our daughter when she was a baby, when she first started flying, your ears pop, the little kid's ears pop when you go up in the plane, right? And so she would start like screaming and she'd be on the flight. And if you didn't want her to scream, what I would do is I would do two things. One, I would get an apple. If she was screaming because her gums were hurting, the apple would like mush in her mouth, and it actually is like a natural anesthetic. And then she would be so focused on destroying this apple piece that she would stop crying. Or I would take out my keys, and I had a bunch of keys, and I would just jingle them. And suddenly she was not focused on her ears hurting or her teeth, her gums hurting because she's teething. Suddenly the keys just become this incredible distraction for a baby. This is the most low cost hack that I can tell y'all if you have kids and you have to fly with them. Jingly keys and a piece of apple will save your flight.
I was looking for some keys and an iPad, but go on.
You just jingle them. I mean, or an iPad. Yeah. Nowadays, iPads are a way to distract your kids as well. The reality is the Trump regime understand that their boss is, for whatever reason, I don't know what it is, terrified for the Epstein files to come out. I'll say it again. He is, for whatever reason, he is panicking about the Epstein files and is willing to do anything to get his base to get on to something else. Prosecuting Obama. Sorry, baby, you can't do that because you got the Supreme Court to say that presidents are kings. You cannot prosecute Obama. So that doesn't help. Let's decide we're going to go to war with Iran. Let's go ahead and bomb Iran. Let's go ahead and support the complete destruction of Palestinians. Let's make it into a resort. Let's sell it to Jared Kushner. Let's kill them all, whatever. He doesn't care. Do whatever you want. He just needs some kind of a distraction. And he does seem to think that his base are pretty dumb because he thinks that they just will stop thinking about or talking about the Epstein files if he gives them other things to talk about. And I think one of those things is invading blue cities so that they will focus. It started out being about immigration. Then all of a sudden, weirdly enough, Don, did you notice it stopped being about immigration and suddenly it was about crime? So now it's going to be military in the streets to stop the immigrants. Then it's military in the streets to stop crime. Now he's talking about we have to get rid of drop boxes. Maybe the military in the streets are going to be about elections. He keeps finding new crazy things to do with his power. And then he's like, I'm going to prosecute Letitia James. I'm going to prosecute Adam Schiff. He's like, every day it's a new adventure in crazy. But I think that the bottom line is there's something in them Epstein files that he is desperate to get his base to stop asking to see.
Well, I mean, why else would you be going to such lengths? I mean, that's the only conclusion that you can come to unless they say just release them.
Yeah.
And they have not refuted or denied the reports that the FBI was told to scrub or redact his name, not scrub, but redact his name from the Epstein files. They won't say how many times they're in the Epstein files. Like something is, what would you believe if he's the first person who brought that up and thought that he would, by bringing it up, that he would hit Bill Clinton, right? But it came back to bite him in the ass.
That's right.
Because he's in there. And maybe, look, every accusation is a confession.
Yes.
With this, right? So there's something going on. And look, the MAGA folks, I call them MAGA brains because they're cultists.
They are.
I think like, okay, maybe they're not this dumb where they can't see that somebody's putting the banana in the tailpipe. They're calling for the okie doke with this.
It's, you know what it is? The problem with trying to fool MAGA on this, they're not the brightest, to be kind. Okay. But
I know you heard me couching my own, but yes, I've already
they're not the sharpest tools in the shed, if we're being honest. However, a lot of the basis of their faith, right? And I believe MAGA is a religion. It is Christian nationalism, and it is a religion. Donald Trump is their God. And they worship him like he is God, right? But part of the basis of their faith is QAnon. The QAnon, which has this huge Venn diagram with evangelical Christianity and particularly white Christian nationalism. And QAnon, they're like this. And it goes back to when we were young, not trying to age us, Don, but we're Generation X. We grew up in that time when white Christian nationalists used to tell us that if you played rock and roll records backward, AC/DC and other records backward, you would hear the devil speaking. And what they believe, that belief system that goes back to the 1980s, is that what the devil was speaking was trying to encourage people to become pedophiles, that there was a ring of global pedophiles who were tied up with all of these secret societies, like the Bilderbergers. Remember how they do that Bilderberger thing every summer? These multinational, transcontinental secret societies and organizations that were demonic, and that were communicating through backwards Beatles songs. Okay, this is from the 80s. That morphs then into this belief in QAnon in the modern era, where they believe that this global pedophile cult that controls international governments and that is multinational and that is basically controlling not just our governments around the world and being protected by these rich, shady, secret societies. That is part of Donald Trump's base. And so you can tell them a lot of lies and they'll believe it. You can tell them that a tariff is not a tax. They'll somehow believe it. You can tell them that if they sacrifice their farms and go bankrupt for Trump, they're going to go to heaven. You can tell them that all black people are thieves stealing their jobs, and that if they just get rid of the immigrants, suddenly they're going to get into Yale. They're going to get into Harvard with their C grades. They got no intelligence, but they're going to get into Harvard, and they're going to be airline pilots. If only the blacks were not flying that plane, they could walk in and fly the plane. You can fool them with a lot of stuff. But you're not going to get them to walk away from their core belief that there's a global pedophile ring when it turns out there was a global pedophile ring, and that Jeffrey Epstein was being protected he was a billionaire and being protected by billionaires, and that he was trafficking women to the royal family in Britain, and he was potentially trafficking women to high officials in America. That part of their belief system has proved to be true. So if you think that getting Kash Patel to suddenly do a 180 and start screaming at members of Congress that the Epstein files aren't real, if you think Kash Patel is going to walk them back from about 30 years of being groomed to believe there was a global pedophile ring when there was a global pedophile ring. Even they not walking away from that.
Joy Reid, damn girl, I love you. Joy, I've got to ask you, because I have been defending you. I've been defending Ketanji Brown Jackson. Yes. I've been defending Michelle Obama. I've been defending the late, great Sheila Jackson Lee from this whole thing that, because I did a whole thing this morning, yesterday, where I talked about Charlie Kirk's memorial turned into a religious nationalism
Very weird.
rally, right?
Yeah.
And so everybody, Brian Kilmeade and others, on the right are all hitting. And I'm like, it's true that one of the hosts had Brian Kilmeade on, one of the Fox News hosts had him on as a guest on his program. And he said, there was religion, a lot of religious stuff going on, and there was nationalism. But Brian, does that make it religious nationalism? I'm like, yeah, you just said 1 + 1 = 2.
Yeah.
So I just want to know what you have to say about that, because I knew what Sheila Jackson Lee was talking about. She was talking about affirmative action and qualified women, qualified people, Black women who were given opportunities that they would not have been given if it were not for affirmative action. Not that they weren't qualified and somebody picked them and threw them into a program or university or wherever where they couldn't fit in, and then you didn't graduate. And all of this coming from someone who dropped out of college. Go on. How do you feel?
Junior college, right? Junior college. And by the way, that the late Charlie Kirk, who again we can say for the 140th time, it is not right to kill people. We are totally against it. The way he died was horrific. No mother should have to bury their 31-year-old son. I think that is an awful, awful thing that happened. To also happen on tape, where his children one day can Google those images. Just awful. I feel horrible for his parents, his wife, his kids. That's a horrible thing to happen. I'm against murder. That's why I'm for the Palestinians. I don't think anybody should be killed. And I don't believe they should be killed en masse either. But the reality is that comment that he made about me, Sheila Jackson Lee, Ketanji Brown Jackson, and Michelle Obama, the reason that comment resonates so much with white conservatives is it confirms for them the belief in their minds that the only reason that the four of us were able to get into Ivy League schools is the color of our skin, that the colleges looked at nothing other than our race, that they saw we checked off Black and female and let us in because that is the way that they were going to do their quota to get enough Blacks in, which is illogical for a few reasons. Reason number one, there are about 1,200 slots, let's say, in the Ivy League sort of freshman classes, and probably like 10,000 people applying. A lot of those people are Black. How did they actually get down to the ones that they picked? If they were just going on race, and let's say there were 1,200 spots and 5,000 Black people applied, did they pick us at random? Did they just grab any one of us? So they had to have thought of something else. So that's number one. It can't just be race, right? They had to have at least vetted us a little more than that. Number two, to even be willing and have the balls to apply to Harvard, you probably have to have a certain GPA. Mine happened to be 4.2 on a 4.0 scale. So that meant that I had the balls to apply in the first place because I was super performing at my high school. So it can't just be Black. Okay, okay, well, yes, so what? There were this many people that had a 4.2 that were also Black, and y'all only got in. What about the white people who had a 4.2? Okay, let's say it was just that. We also had to submit our SAT scores, right? We had to submit our SAT scores. I scored in the 96th percentile on the SATs, meaning that I did better on the SATs than 96% of the people who took the SATs the same year, including the white people. So that means that I did better on the SATs than 96% of the white people who took the SATs the same year I did. So it can't just be grades, rank in your class, race, and the SATs. They had to find some other way to get through that 5,000 or some more Blacks and get down to me, right? Because then here's the next piece of this. I didn't just get into Harvard. And let's say I got into Harvard just because I was Black. Okay, let's go ahead and give them that. How did I get into Yale? Okay. Harvard and Yale, I fooled them, my Black self. I fooled them with the Blackness. I was Black, and they said, just come on in, Harvard and Yale. How did I get into Brown? How did I get into University of Denver? How did I get into Vassar? I got into all the schools I applied to, all of them, except for Stanford, who put me on the wait list. If I was literally just getting into colleges because affirmative action only looked at my race, that's a hell of a feat to do when there were thousands of people that had similar credentials. I had to have had a lot more than race to get into Harvard. And I promise you, as smart as I know my ass is, Ketanji Brown is smarter Smartest person I've ever met in my life. When you smart, I'm smart. That lady is smart on a level I've never seen before. And her 3 roommates were even smarter. These girls were so smart that we were shocked that we'd ever met anybody that intelligent. And Amy Coney Barrett, on the other hand, is a Supreme Court justice just like Ketanji, even though her qualifications are minuscule compared to Ketanji's. Maybe that's the affirmative action we've been getting. White people who are essentially mediocre in scale compared to a black person getting the spot because they wanted a conservative. Maybe the way that J.D. Vance got into Yale is because they were tired of just letting in white men from New York, from Choate, from all the elite schools, and they wanted an Appalachian white. That's how that man got into Yale, I promise you. Same thing with Ron DeSantis from a small town in Florida. They wanted to just get out of the New York, D.C. matrix, Massachusetts matrix, and let somebody into Harvard and Yale who came from a different place. He came from Florida. Baby, that's also affirmative action and DEI. So before y'all start going crazy about DEI just meaning they let black people in just on the basis of being black, think a little more critically and think about the fact that it's also disabled people, military veterans, people who come from Appalachia, white folks who come from Alaska and different places that they don't normally come from, indigenous people, Latinos, Asians. And the last thing I'll say about this, for all of y'all people on Fox that are going to clip this because y'all mad about affirmative action, because yes, I embrace affirmative action because I belonged at Harvard and I was smarter than all the legacies I went to school with, who only were there because they were rich and their parents had a name on one of the buildings and they didn't go to class and I did. So I'm just going to let y'all know that we see affirmative action as these schools searching for people they wouldn't have ordinarily found without deliberately looking for us. They would have just let the same mediocre white men from rich families in. But instead, they let me in. And because of that, you now have the ability to attack me, right wingers. You have the ability to know who I am when I don't know who most of y'all are. But you know me because affirmative action brought me your way. Tell the Lord, thank you. Be grateful for all that God has given you. God knows what God is doing. She a smart, smart lady.
She's probably black.
And she definitely black.
Joy Reid, thank you. Now that was a read and a mic drop. Right there, right there. Joy, wow. I thank you for that. You made my day. You made my day. Joy, I'm going to play this, and this is going to be the last thing we talk about.
Yes.
Because I'm already late for a meeting, but I'm having such a good time. This is the person. Now, this is a person who says DEI, and they're hiring people who are not qualified, you know, and the white people. You remember that press conference when the plane crashed in DC, the helicopter and the plane, and they were talking about, and I think J.D. Vance said that they were giving jobs taking away jobs from unqualified white people or something like that, or white men. He said that during that press conference. Now, Donald Trump couldn't even say fucking acetaminophen yesterday. And then this is him today.
The teleprompter is not working, and whoever's operating this teleprompter is in big trouble. I ended 7 wars, dealt with the leaders of each and every one of these countries, and never even received a phone call from the United Nations offering to help. All I got from the United Nations was an escalator that on the way up stopped right in the middle. If the First Lady wasn't in great shape, she would have fallen. But she's in great shape. These are the 2 things I got from the United Nations, a bad escalator and a bad teleprompter. Everyone says that I should get the Nobel Peace Prize for each one of these achievements. The #1 political issue of our time, the crisis of uncontrolled migration. It's uncontrolled. Your countries are being ruined. You have to end it now. Let's see, I can tell you. I'm really good at this stuff. Your countries are going to hell. I look at London, where you have a terrible mayor, terrible mayor.
You get it.
Oh my God. Don, I watched this in real time. I sat and watched it and I was taking notes. I'm like, this man is #1. If this was your grandfather, you would take away his car keys and you would drive him down to the old folks home and leave him there.
I said, somebody come get grandpa.
Get him. Get your grandfather. You know, I never got a dinner. No one ever really gave me that. You know what? I deserved a Nobel Prize. They never gave it to me. Kennedy Center never gave me an honor. I deserved an honor. I'd stopped all the wars. You know, the wars were happening until I got here. And then they're gone. They stopped happening. The war in the Congo. I don't even know. What is Congo? Congo. How do you spell that? I don't. And he's like, if your grandfather spoke the way Trump did, you would put him in a home immediately and you would not let him out. Why is he the president of the United States? Why? He said, I stopped 7 wars. I'm like, somebody should say which ones. He's like, the terrible wars. Stop the wars. I need a Nobel Prize. He's so thirsty. He's so thirsty. He's so desperate. Please just he's like, just give me a prize.
Thank you, Joy. 7:00 tonight for this fantastic interview. I will be watching. So make sure you join. Your live show or you tape?
This is taped. So we taped it on Friday. We're gonna premiere it. Yep, it's gonna be right there on thejoyreidshow.com. Y'all, please subscribe when you get over there. Don't just lurk. Don't lurk here either. If you guys are watching the Don Lemon Show, make sure that you subscribe, hit that like button, get that algorithm cooking. You see how successful this show is. Don is a role model to me, but he's also my friend. We are working together. We are in tandem. We are high-fiving and tag teaming as we go. But this is where it is, y'all. Independent media. This is the future. We're going to bring you the interviews, the news, the facts, the real. We're going to go. Look at how we went at Nancy Mace. That's what we need. Come on, y'all. Subscribe.
Thank you. High five, boo. Thank you so much.
Boom.
High five,
John,
boom.
take
Thank
care,
you,
friend.
Joy Reid. I'll see you
Bye-bye.
later. See you. Thank you, guys. You heard what Joy said. Support Joy. Make sure you watch her show, subscribe to her show, and our show as well. You heard what support independent journalism. If you want to know anything about our show, you can go to donlemon.com. Click on watch. Hey, Tim, we have to put the book on the main page of the donlemon.com. And hit the watch button, and there you go. That's our YouTube page. You can subscribe and you can join right there. Also, if you back out, you can also go and check out our merch right there, and all the stuff. I had on my shirt this morning, but I had to do an interview, and I wanted to look presentable and not just have on my t-shirt, even though t-shirts are presentable. Okay. So listen, guys, thank you so much. Thank you for supporting us. Thank you for tuning in, of course, and not to fear, not to worry. Watch Jimmy Kimmel tonight. Should I have a watch party? I don't know. I've got to run because I do have to run because I have a 6:15 meeting, but I have some merch photos that I'll show tomorrow, some folks. And so I promise you, if you're in our merch, if you buy our merch, you take a picture, we'll put it on. So I'll get it on tomorrow, but I have a 6:15 meeting and it's 6:12. Okay. So anyways, you can be informed without being inundated until I see you tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Eastern time for Hot Topics. Here's what I want you to do. Turn the TV off. Thanks everyone for watching. Your support means the world to us. So make sure you hit the like button and you subscribe to our channel to make sure that you never ever miss a video. We're live every day, 10 a.m. Eastern time. We drop even more content at 2 p.m. Eastern and 5 p.m. Eastern. And if you want more Don Lemon Show content, we'd love for you to become a member of the Lemon community, where you will receive access to special community posts. You'll get exclusive content and members-only live shows. So head over to our channel page or click the join button on this video. Again, thank you for watching. We appreciate your love and your support.